Welcome to Training Tip Tuesday. I'm Courtney Cooper, 5-star event rider and horse breeder. Additionally, I am the owner of C-Square Farm and a partner in Excel Star Sport Horses. This week, we're going to take you back to the Young Event Horse Championships held last week for the 4 and 5-year-olds at Virginia Horse Trials, with Duda being the presenting sponsor. This year, Virginia Horse Trials and Andy and his team there stepped in when Fair Hill had to cancel because of the COVID pandemic, and they did an outstanding job. With over 55 5-year-olds strutting down the center line, I think the Young Event Horse program can feel very good about what they've done to encourage breeders and owners in this country to develop 4 and 5-year-olds that hopefully will go on to represent the U.S. team in international competition. The horses that I saw were all outstanding in their quality. The training had been good and the horses had been developed. So I think there is a, for sure, pipeline in this country that's starting to develop to get horses to go to the upper levels. Unlike a traditional horse trials, the championship is scored over 6 factors: conformation, dressage, show jumping efforts, cross-country efforts, overall jumping evaluation, and general impressions to make a 5-star horse. So the scoring is done based on what is this horse's potential to be a 5-star horse. So it's a slightly different score sheet. For each phase, I've included the championship score sheet on Excel Star Time to Shine. So going into David's particular score sheet for this phase, keeping in mind that all of the movements are scored on a 1 to 10 scale given to tenths of the point, let's look at his trot score. For rhythm, suppleness, elasticity, impulsion, swinging back, and ground cover, the comments were that he was a bit quick with his freedom compromise. His steps improved after the canter. So he had a general overall mark of 7.6. For his walk, they are looking at the rhythm, the relaxation, the activity, and the ground cover. And you can see there at the very end, he's quite tense and upright. And it said that it needs to show ground cover and swing. Unfortunately, he usually has that in spades, but not today. And so he got a 7 overall score for his walk. Regarding his canter, they're looking for rhythm, suppleness, elasticity, impulsion, natural balance, ground cover, and the uphill tendency. For the judge, she felt like he was on his forehand. He was quite tight through his top line. He needed a better balance on his outside aids with increased suppleness. And he was better to the right side, so we'll see the right side here soon. He received a 7.6 mark on that. And then overall, his suppleness and submissiveness, contact, straightness, and obedience. This was where he fell down, and he got a 7.2. So overall, he had a total mark of 14.72 in this phase, which on the marking scale is between a fairly good and a good. I would have hoped he would have been through the very good and excellent marks, but unfortunately, like I said, it was not meant to be. For my other horses, especially Excel Star TikTok and Excel Star First Class, I was really pleased with their tests. They put in a lovely phase where they really showed elasticity and suppleness. But for David, it just wasn't his phase and it wasn't his day. The fortunate thing about the Young Event Horse Series and the championship in particular is the dressage only counts for 20% of your score. So given that we still had the jumping, which counts, and general impression, which counted for 70%, I felt like we still had a pretty good shot at it. So after the dressage, we go to conformation. And I'm going to apologize straight off the bat because it appears that our video either got destroyed or removed or never taken. So we don't have it. So we did it based on being at home. And you can see that basically what you end up doing is it's like a jog at a 3A, except for here that they're evaluating the horse's conformation. And not only are they looking at the type, but they're looking at the frame of the horse, the withers, the back, haunches in the top line, the legs, how straight the horse's legs are, how they form together, what their angulation is, the feet, how correct the jog and the walk are, and then the overall general impression. For Excel Star Time to Shine, he actually got the highest confirmation mark of any of the 4 or 5-year-olds. So I think it says he's a very nice stamp of a horse. For type, athletic event type, the comments from the judge were that they showed refinement. He got a mark of an 8.0. For his frame, which is his proportion, head, neck, shoulders, withers, back, croup, haunches, and top line, he had the comments of super proportions everywhere, prominent withers, 8.5. On his legs, they're looking for the straightness, the angulation, and the formation of legs and joints. The comment was that he was a little straight behind, slightly bench-kneed up front, needed slightly more bone, 7.8. For his feet, what they look for is the size, the shape, and the condition. And the remark was that he had good quality and shape, and gave him an 8.3. For the jog, they looked at the rhythm, the straightness, and the correctness, and they said he was very correct and active, gave him an 8.5. And for the general impression, the biomechanical efficiency to move well and stay sound and to compete at the highest level. The comment was he has good conformation for the upper levels, and he was given an 8.6. So his overall mark was an 83.4, and like I said, and that translated to an 8.34, and that translated to the overall highest mark in the competition. And then we needed to wait. And so the next day was cross-country day. Unfortunately, there was a hurricane bearing down on Virginia that had come through the middle part of the country. And as you can see, the footing was wet and it was deep. Andy and his Tyson and his crew, all of them are to be hugely thanked for the efforts that they went into to try to keep riders and horses safe. But unfortunately, it just wasn't meant to be. This video is Excel Star TikTok. She went 2 or 3 rides before they called the competition for the day. And you can see she's struggling with the footing, but doing the best she can. When you've got 25 horses that are running over the same ground, and especially for the show jumping, basically jumping in the same track, it just gets a little unfair to the horses later in the day, and it gets a little unsafe. And so I believe the ground jury and the organizing committee made the right decision on Thursday to stop the competition. But to let you see what it was like to ride in the pouring rain and the muddy conditions, here you go, and you can see what a trooper Excel Star TikTok is. Tickles, as we call her, is a game little mare by Plot Blue, and we have high hopes for her for the future. And you can see that she just keeps on trying. A riders' meeting was held several hours later, and it was determined that the horses that went on Thursday would be pinned as a separate class, and the remaining horses would have the opportunity to go cross-country on Sunday. Fingers crossed that the sun came out, the wind came out, no more rain happened, and we were able to continue competing. So, what do you do when you have a couple of days at Virginia that you didn't plan on having? I know a lot of my fellow competitors went back to their home bases. For us, that was 6.5 hours away, and I didn't feel like it was going to be fair to the horses to travel home 6.5 hours on Friday, get ridden at home, turn around on Saturday, drive another 6.5 hours back to the competition, get ridden there again, and have to set up again, and then to go on Sunday. Before we leave TikTok's round, though, I want to tell you how the cross-country and show jumping is scored. Each of the individual efforts is scored, and this time it's scored on half points from 0 to 5. So each show jumping effort is scored, as is each cross-country effort. And then there's an overall evaluation looking at rideability, looking at the horses between the fences, and then looking at the horses over the gallop, as well as an overall general impression score. I had some time on my hands, so I watched one of our horse's full brothers jump in the 3-star. He ended up second, which was exciting. And then Rebecca Barber, who has been helping us as a groom at the competition, she had a young horse, and she was second in the beginner novice with her, which was very, very exciting. And then Paige Crotty, who is also one of our best team members and owns part of Briar Hill Excel Star Take 2, was there with her Excel Star horse, Excel Star Armina Z. And at different points, she was leading the 2-star short. She ended up being third overall. So the sun came out, but unfortunately, so did the rain. Sunday morning, we woke up to a dreary rainstorm. Wasn't supposed to rain a lot, but it did. Again, the organizing committee and the judges made a great decision to hold the time back on the start. And so while the footing was a bit slick and a bit deep just because of the additional rainfall, we were able to jump and not to be in the pouring rain, which I know I really appreciated. So here is Excel Star Time to Shine's show jumping, followed by his cross country. You can see he's quite a good jumper, and he makes quick work of all of these fences. As he's coming around to fence 4, most of his scores had been a 4.5 or a 5. Unfortunately, you'll see that he peaks at fence 5. You can't really see what's going on, but there was a rock that was noticed right before fence 5, and they put a potted plant on it, and he took a little bit of an exception to that, but went on with it, and so that was fine, and off he went. So now he's into what he does best, which is the cross country. So there were 10 efforts on the cross country. Most of his scores were in the 5s. He actually had the highest score of this group of 5-year-olds for his cross country efforts. He ended up on a 28.5 out of 30. It's just a joy to ride cross country, this horse. He's very adjustable and scopy. He has great technique. And so the overall evaluation for him was on his rideability, that I overrode him a little bit on the approach. However, given that he was spooky on fence 2 and fence 5, I didn't want to have a stop, so I chose to do that a little bit. They said it spoiled his smoothness. Unfortunately, that was what I needed to do. Between the fences, they remarked that he had a lovely rhythm and was taking the fences in the stride, and he got an 8.8. And then on his gallop, they gave him a 9.1, that it was elastic and had a ground covering step. Overall, his general impression and potential as a 4- and 5-star horse, they gave him a 9 out of 10 and said he was quite an impressive youngster. So he ended up 6th overall out of this group of young horses. He would have been 10th if we had scored both divisions together out of 55. And given his poor performance in the dressage phase, I think that's a pretty good way to come back. This is a horse for the future. Our main goal was to get a score for Le Lion d'Angers for the grant. I know a lot of my fellow competitors and I are all looking forward to try to compete for that grant. As I said, it goes to the 7-year-old who competed as a 5-year-old in 2020 in the championships and is ridden by an American rider. There's a grant given by Tim Holekamp and Cheryl Turner, and then Duda is also giving a free flight back and forth to the championships in France. So it's a pretty big deal. As everybody involved with horses knows, there are a lot of things that can happen between their 5-year-old year and their 7-year-old year. There are a lot of things that can happen as you're getting a horse ready to get prepared to do a 3-star. So we'll hope for the best, and we'll see where we are in 2022. It'll be interesting to look back at this and see that then. Overall, like I said before, I think the pipeline for American horses in the future is strong. I saw a lot of domestically bred horses as well as some imports. I know I've got some of each that I'm looking forward to bringing along. And so I would say thank you very much to everybody involved in the championships. It was a great experience. We took a lot of insight into how to do things better and what to look for in the future. And then we're going to close this by looking at a couple youngsters we have at home. Be interesting to see where they are in 4 or 5 years. So thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed Training Tip Tuesday. See you next week.